information. Okay. Oh, we're still waiting for, do we have the interpreter? Oh, we have Cindy here, yes. Patrick, I just want to confirm from you that we are good to go.
We're waiting for Brittany.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Let me go ahead and message her.
Other than that, we're all here. Everybody's good to go. Beautiful people.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful people. Okay. Okay, so Brittany just messaged me. She says she hasn't received the link yet.
It may be in her spam folder. Mine was not in my main email.
Okay, let me message her.
Thanks, Remy. That's really good information for us. I appreciate that.
No problem. Well, it was in my updates. It wasn't in spam, but it wasn't primary. So maybe it's there, maybe it is spam.
Okay.
Accessibility is teamwork, and teamwork makes the dream work. Okay, let me stop that beeping.
I sent her the text, the email code for like general attendees, so I can switch her over to panelist when she shows up in the attendee list.
Actually, Sav, do you have Brittany's number? Actually, let me give it to you. Oh, Jesus Christ. Where's that number? Oh, boy. Hold on 1 second. Oh, she did not give me her number. Let me see. Let me check her signature line.
I don't have her phone number.
Yeah. Not every speaker shared it. Let me see. Would I be able to share my panelist link on Instagram, and would she be able to have access?
Yeah, I think the interpreters had a similar issue. They kind of shared their link and were able to get in that way.
I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, so all week Cameo has just been emailing me, forwarding me her email, and that's what I've been using to get in, and it's worked okay. You just have to change your name.
Perfect. If you want to start, the other option is to move her over from the attendee list and make her a panelist, because she's not going until after 15 minutes, right?
So, Seth, would you be okay with messaging her on Instagram, sending her a DM? If one of the panelists, any one of the 6 of you has the link to join the Zoom, can you share with on the group on Instagram that I have with all of you? so that I can get started, and can I get confirmation that one of you is going to do this?
I just sent it to her.
Who was that? Melissa?
Yeah, but she
Alright.
hasn't got it yet. I don't see that she's got it, but I'll walk her through it. if
All
she
right,
wants.
fantastic. So Carissa, I am trusting you to communicate with Brittany. Go on the chat. There is a chat with all the panelists. Please communicate and let us know what is happening on that chat. With
Okay.
just, okay?
Okay.
All right, well, I'm gonna start broadcasting. All right. So I want to get confirmation. Patrick, are we live?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Now you are. Now you are coming up on my attendee screen. You're ready.
Yes. Hello. 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 Hello, everyone. Welcome. 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 So I'm going to just take a few minutes and slow down and just really savor this moment and just welcome all of you. So I'm just going to take a quick minute to welcome everyone to day 7 of the Healing, Access, and Inclusion Conference. Today is the last day, so we're going to take it slow and sweet, and it's going to be awesome. So what I would like for everyone to do, just go ahead, let us know where you're from in the Q&A. So just go ahead in the Q&A button, let us know who is with us today so that we can just welcome everybody. Over the last few days, we've had some people from, we keep saying Hong Kong. We had a person join us from Hong Kong. We had a person join us from the Bahamas. We had people join us from California. We had people join us from Texas. We have had people just from all over the place. Welcome, everyone, to the 7th day of the Healing, Access, and Inclusion Conference. My name is Mariella Paulino, and I am your host for this very, very special day. So I'm going to share with you my slides. So for day 7, Healing, Access, and Inclusion Conference, if you're going to be sharing any content on social media, make sure that you use the hashtag HAIC2020, Healing, Access, and Inclusion Conference, so that we can document all of the pictures, all of the comments, all of the stories, all of the posts about this incredible event. Use it. Hashtag HAIC2020. So let's get started. So we made it. We made it. We turned a dream into a real thing. We had real speakers and we had real presentations and we had powerful topics. By the way, if you hear siren going on outside, I apologize. New York City, I live on a major intersection where there is a police station, a hospital, and a fire station just a few blocks away from me. It drives me mad, and it's not ideal when you are hosting a conference. So if you hear that again, I apologize. But anyway, we made it. We made it. We made it to day 7. I am so proud of everyone that made today possible. Everyone from the volunteers that initially helped, to the people that stuck through to like drive this to the finish line, to the interpreters, to the team at Google, to the people that devoted their time and their energy and their quality time afterward to make this happen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So our agenda for today, we have 7 topics. Again, if you're seeing this and this is your 7th time watching this, I apologize. We have new people that have come in every day, as well as many familiar ones. So the agenda is just something we have to go over. So let's first go over privacy notice. Let's first go over our privacy notice. Then we're going to do the Zoom layout, the why of the conference, who we are, today's discussion, ground rules, and then we will start the conference. Thanks to the privacy notice is that we are going to photograph, video, and audio record our event to share a lot of the important information we are including. So just be mindful that if you type, my name is Mariella Paulino and I'm from New York City, into the chat, and then you say, I love this conference, because you do, then that is content that we could share in marketing materials later down the line when we decide to host another event similar to the Hearing Access and Inclusion Conference. The Zoom layout. At the very bottom of your Zoom screen, oh boy, New York City streets are loud today. So at the very bottom of your Zoom screen, you will see a few buttons. You will see on the lower right-hand corner, you will see a button that says Q&A. You will see another button that says, chat. Make sure that you use those buttons, especially the Q&A button, so that you can let us know any questions that you may have for the speakers. We will have the speakers check out the Q&A after the presentation. Then we have the why of the conference. So the why is that I am a person with a hearing disability, and I know so many incredible people doing such powerful and meaningful work in this space. And I really wanted to create a space to really elevate those voices, to really create a space for allyship. One of our speakers yesterday, Katarina, she said, when you're an ally, it's about showing up. It's about really committing to being an ally. And I thought that that was so powerful, because everybody's calling themselves an ally. Everybody's calling themselves an ally nowadays, but not everybody is an ally. Not everybody actually takes the time to learn, to educate, to actually create accessible and inclusive content. So who we are, the people that have put this incredible event together, we have Seth, who is an incredible human being. Like, this woman is our project manager for this. She, from the very beginning, created a Trello board. She has timeline. Everything runs on time. Like, it's like a train station with Seth. I have loved working with her. We have Patrick, who is responsible for the technology. He makes sure that we have our interpreter, that we have our closed captioning, that we have our Zoom recording, that we have everything in gallery view. He just makes sure that the technology, that the matrix works as it is intended. And then we have Natasha, who has been responsible for operations, for making sure that our emails get there when they're supposed to get there, that the Zoom is working, that our operations is like a perfectly routine tango. Wow, tango is a more dynamic, passionate art form, but I don't know, with Natasha, it's like we're in this tango, but I know what's going to happen and where everything is going to be. I love working with her as well. So the four of us, we're the ones that have put together the event, the last 6 days of the conference, and the next 4 events that we have planned for today. So today we are going to be joined by Mary, who is going to be sharing with us some soul-shivering poetry. I'm not going to spoil it for you. You're going to have to watch it yourself. Then we have Brittany, who is going to be talking about minorities in film. And she is an artist, producer, director. I mean, everything that is media related, she does it. And she has a cochlear implant. And she's going to be talking about her experiences being in that space. Then we're going to be joined by Carissa, who is going to talk about being a parent with a hearing disability. I'm not yet a mom, but Carissa talks about all of the real challenges. Like, she keeps it straight as a tequila shot. She gives it to you raw, unfiltered, and I love that about her. Because in a way, it's kind of like, oh, so that's a motherhood with a hearing disability. It's like, gotcha. And it really allows me to to think about these things and be prepared and advocate for myself. And it's so powerful to see her share these experiences of being a mother with a co-parent, just like me in the future. And then finally, we are going to close out with 3 very special speakers. I mean, again, every speaker that we've had for this conference is like super special to me. Like, I am so grateful to know these people. So Andy is my boyfriend. Then we have Sarosha, who is dating Manny. And then we have Rami, who is dating Katarina, who is one of the speakers from yesterday, who I run the Chicas Talk Disability platform with. And I've talked with each one of them briefly about what it is like to be dating someone with a hearing disability, but today we'll be hearing from them for the last speaker session. Ground rules, and I'll go over these quickly. So use the Q&A if you have any questions. Be respectful. Make sure that you are conscious of the way you are writing down questions in the chat, in the Q&A. Foster an accessible and inclusive space. So be accessible in everything that you do. Try to be inclusive in the content that you are sharing in the chat. Respect bubbles. Be conscious that your experience may be different from someone else's experience. And so just be considerate that we all just have different bubbles and different reality. And then finally, be present. Be present. It's day 7 of this incredible conference. And I'm so excited that I get to savor this next few moments with you. So we are going to have our very first speaker, Manny. Manny, are you ready? Can you come up? All right. Hi, Manny. So what I want to know is, do you want us to play your video first, or do you want to start speaking?
No, just go ahead and play the video.
All right, so awesome. So Patrick, do we have that set up?
Manny's sharing it from his computer.
Okay.
1 second. 1 moment, sorry.
All right.
Hey, I'm Manny Minaya, writer and spoken word artist. A huge thank you to the people behind the Hearing Access and Inclusion Conference for allowing me the space to speak to you. Hearing loss has always been a sensitive topic for me. I was diagnosed.
We can't hear you, Manny. The sound went off. Can you start over?
Because
Okay. Right?
Sorry. Hey, I'm Manny Minaya, writer and spoken word artist. A huge thank you to the people behind the Hearing Access and Inclusion Conference for allowing me the space to speak to you. Hearing loss has always been a sensitive topic for me. I was diagnosed with sensorineural hearing loss as a child, and I immediately felt the social impacts. It made me feel different, like I was an outsider looking into this world where everyone had complete use of all 5 of their senses. Because my hearing loss is considered mild, I had the privilege of still being able to communicate without the use of hearing aids. Out of embarrassment, though, I would never put them on. I went through all of high school and a part of college without ever using them. When people would learn of my hearing loss, I'd shy away and try to switch the conversation. I kept away from situations which required me to speak because, well, I couldn't hear. But I remind myself on what Dr. Oliver Sacks wrote about people with disabilities in his book, An Anthropologist on Mars. Defects, disorders, diseases can all play a paradoxical role by bringing out people's latent powers. It is this paradox of disease that brings out people's creative potential. It's a way for people with disabilities to compensate for their loss. With that being said, I'd love to share with you how I compensate for my hearing loss through words and poetry. I want to take you on a small journey through my life dealing with my identity, my creative potential, so to speak. I grew up to the sounds of dominoes crashing on wooden squares with the smell of mofongo and candles depicting the Virgin Mary circle through the house like wildfire, burning my nostrils, making my eyes water. Abuela used to say it was Jesucristo's way of cleansing me. She used to tell me that a small prayer could cure anything. You remember those tiny elephants they would put in the barbershops and hair salons? Where you tie a dollar bill through the trunk? What was that all about? Like good luck? I used to think differently of it when the worst things that happened to me was skin knees and Cabrini hitting those swings like life didn't mean anything. When the spillage of a paint can across the canvas in art class was the best mistake. They looked like cracks on the skins of kids. And we never bled, no, we laughed. We played hopscotch drawn with chalk on uneven concrete. We pitched rocks and batted with tree sticks on our way to the Yankees or the Red Sox. Y cuando se fue la luz, we never complained. We lit a candle, or 2, or 10, and we kept on eating, y gociando. And it's beautiful that one of our sweetest drinks is called Morir Soñando. From the start, we knew life is the sweetest drink, but eventually we all go. We should make sure to take care of ourselves so we can dream for a little while. And don't we live for a little while? My great aunt lives to be 109. I asked her how she managed to live for a little while, and she said a little bit of fun never hurt anyone once in a while. And her skin was hardened like Concon from the pressure, working with her hands in the dirt, walking for miles to the nearest bodega. I walk to the corner store and feel my knees giving out from under me, and I don't laugh anymore, I bleed. Mommy tells me to rub menthol as I say sana. Un poquito de jugo de limón y un poquito de fe helps the soul. And our culture finds meaning behind the simplest things, like planning out lottery tickets to the house numbers we grew up in back in La Altagracia, or the way our grandmothers raised their 4 kids plus the nieces and nephews of her brothers and sisters on top of her own grandchildren with nothing but 2 loving hands. Like our grandfathers came home with calloused hands from cultivating the earth, making sure his sons and grandsons had a nice stable foundation to rest their heads on. Then turn around and turn up at the family parties, turning into the Grandmaster La Guirra. Like we never went to church and witnessed the choir extract tears from our mother's eyes as they sang Oye Vuelto and begged us to remember our mothers were art as well. Now name me a people who settled amongst the heights, Washington Heights, because they were tired of living in the valleys of poverty and hunger. A people who knew they deserved more and used their creativity to get ahead. The Bronx taught me when you get boogied down, you still get back up, Papa. We use our hands and feet and transform them into a reflection of what allows us to be resilient. And somewhere down the line, I got Americanized and I forgot. Our people live for a little while simply because we believe. And we laugh, and we smile, and even when we go, morimos soñando. If a little bit of faith is simply what is needed to be, then let me be me and believe in the strengths which make me me, not the things people consider to be a disability. As a Latino American, I find inspiration in how the Dominican culture finds positivity in even the most negative situations. The music, the dances, the language, it helps show me that life is meant to be enjoyed to the fullest. Although I can't really hear or understand people's speech or lyrics well, the vibrant energy exuding from the people of my culture show me that I am more than this disability. Being hearing disabled is not the only thing about me. It is a part of me just as much as the color of my skin, or my hair type, or my eye color. If you have some form of physical, cognitive, or sense-related disability, remind yourself that you have other interests, other personal strengths as well. For me, I'm a huge nerd. The more I shied away from social interactions with people due to my hearing loss, the more I explored this fantasy world in my head, which fuels my writing. Without my hearing loss, I would have never found a love for writing fantastical stories. I would have never aspired to be a novelist and a spoken word artist. I'm sure if instead of DJ Jazzy Jeff backing up the Fresh Prince, or us banging the lunchroom tables to the tune of Grinding by the Clips, if we had DJ Luigi cutting fire flowers and MC Mario spitting fireballs as he worked to impeach Princess Peach from Bowser's grass, if instead of growing up arguing about Jay-Z versus Nas, maybe about how Pikachu could have possibly beaten Brock's Onyx, honestly, I think I would have been much more popular. I'm a Game Boy. I'm a colored, peace-loving decoy living in a black and white society with multiple buttons to push. Use a directional pad to influence me to move in whichever way you choose. Press A to confirm that all I do is right by your societal standards, and match B repeatedly to cancel all the beautiful nerdiness comprising me, contradicting yourself saying that you love my poetry and you don't love me or my interests. Since my Sega Genesis, I raged the streets with a serenade. I polluted the airways with sweet-sounding Sonic the Hedgehog spitting linguistics. I was writing verses back when Penny Hardaway covered the 98 PlayStation rendition of a sport God never stationed me to play. I was NBA Live with the crisscross of metaphors mixed with the little Lauryn Hill and Super Saiyan energies levels over 9,000. I wrote smooth similes over shimmy shimmy yeah. I got the one killer bee and 8-tailed beast ready to slaughter beats, freestyle poetry like Killer Bee. Now, I used to love going to the arcades, feeding quarters to attract dimes and baby fat jeans, a large hoop earrings strutting like New York queens. I didn't have much inside my Echo jean pockets, but don't be fooled by the rocks that I lacked. I learned how to turn you into a poem, a piece of literature, how to spit that Kurt Vonnegut, that Rasengan, that Aaliyah rock the boat, scope your figure into the curviest haiku, sample Street Fighter and screw your mind up with a few sonic booms, and write a thesis with no further proof that I'm just perfect in my game of rhetorics. My hero is Ash Ketchum, because life throws you more monsters every year, and I try to handle them all, and sometimes these Pokeballs that shake 3 times and break, so the reasons I had trust issues, but I keep playing. I got pop figures lining up the shelves of my homes like trophies of all the creations I imagine. They inspire me to make the figures on my pages pop perfectly. Before I move on to my last piece, I want to take a second to challenge you all to think about how you identify yourself. What makes you you, right? It's easy to give in to that voice inside of your head trying to convince you that you aren't worthy. And growing up, I'd often wonder why God would give me such a debilitating and expensive condition. It does a lot to a person's mental health. But as I dove deeper and deeper into my writing and my studies, I learned the value of words and how simply choosing certain descriptions of people, for places, for things, can shift your perspective of them. So instead of thinking of my condition as a disability, I thought of all the ways it helped me process the world. And we all process the world in uniquely different ways. In that sense, I don't have a disability. I have an enabler, something that gives me strength in knowing that this is my world, my reality, and I live it in a way that's uniquely mine. And then there's also no better relief than taking your hearing aids off after a long, loud day. Now think on that as I move on to my last piece. How do you define yourself? The first time I put my hearing aids on, I felt seen. The receivers picked up a world of attention, the audibles, the plays, the teasings of people who fumbled over things they couldn't understand. To be diagnosed with hearing loss is being unable to connect with the world around me. I cannot enjoy the rain hitting the window panes or the high-pitched laughter of children at a playground or the callings of a mother who was told through misguided fortune cards her oldest child would be her biggest headache. Fortune is a lady. She is soft-spoken and gentle. I cannot hear her. She moves her lips. I've learned to read lips at least. I can faintly make out the waves of sounds unseen. Being diagnosed with hearing loss is an unseen disability. It is Harry Potter's invisibility cloak even after solemnly swearing to always do good. I thought myself less than others at 4th grade. Learning in silence, how to trip over the hardwired stutters of my words, searching for anyone to give a damn enough to speak up for me. Being diagnosed with hearing loss is the untouchable chill of loneliness. It is the electronic beeps of a hearing aid, whistling feedback when people try to understand it. It's criticism, destructive, never constructive, conditioned me to believe I was isolated in my disability. And I think of all the opportunities I missed in the skip of heartbeats because I was afraid of social interactions. If you spoke to me, I might have chuckled, think you were saying a joke when you really wanted to ask me a question, or maybe you wanted to compliment me, I don't know. Being diagnosed with hearing loss is social anxiety's bully. It beats him in the hallways where the echoes of other people are indiscernible. I often think I annoy people when I say what. It is literally the most used word in my vocabulary. Like, do you know how to get to 23rd and 7th? What? Okay, class, you have your instructions, now begin. What? But then I hear those moments where it's asking to be repeated, like, babe, I love you. What? Can you repeat that? The sweet nothings, they sounded a lot like everything to me. My sign language is the way my fingers wrap around the pen, scribbling the words on the margins of a page. Being diagnosed with hearing loss is flirting with those margins because errors won't hit me unless I go hit it first. It's easier to live with being disabled when no one knows. But I don't take my hearing aids off anymore. I live in sound. Shoving your problems under your bed only creates the monsters that keep your adult self up at night, and I know what it's like to take for granted a sense that captures the sweet harmonies of hip-hop. Gossips, the I miss yous, or the phone ringing when that special someone texts you. Being diagnosed with hearing loss is a lot of repetition, but repeat yourself, please. I'm scared I won't hear you the first time around. I'm lovingly scared that I'm going to miss something. So can you repeat that? The sweet nothings, they sound a lot like everything to me. Thank you again for listening. Whether you are someone who is disabled or know someone who is, remember that we are more than what it prevents us to do. We all have latent powers and creative potential which can help us compensate and live our lives to the fullest. For more examples of my work, please follow me on Instagram at Manny Minaya. I post short poems daily on my Instagram story, not just on my hearing disability, but on self-love and the importance of mental health. 2 of the poems I shared today are part of a larger collection called Venus Gospels. If you're interested, please check out the link in my Instagram bio to pre-order a copy of the book. Remember, we all have enablers, not simply disabilities. There are a lot of things in life that we cannot control, but we can either choose to let those things bring us down or give us strength. For me, my hearing disability opened up a new world of art and other possibilities. What is it that allows you to explore the world in your own unique way? Thanks again, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Laters.
Manny, you better get on video. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, I'm gonna call up the Nobel Prize in Literature right now because they need to connect with you like ASAP. That was so good. That was so good.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Such a talented writer and poet, and I am so happy that we connected. So we actually, so for those of you that don't know, that are just following up, Manny and I know each other through our hearing teacher, Sita Carpela Miss K, and she was our hearing teacher. In what grade were you? Do you want to share the story?
Of how I met Miss K, yeah, in 4th grade, I started having her as my hearing teacher, and I had her throughout the rest of my elementary school period, and then middle school. But yeah, that's how we met. You're a little bit older than I am. You had her first. You're her like special child, and we're all her special children, but yeah.
Yes, well, we all are her special children, but it turns out that you and me, when I was in like the 4th grade, you were in the 4th grade, and I was like in the 6th grade, and Miss K used to have us write letters to each other. We were like pen pals, and then all this time later, like this is years and years later, Miss K got a whole bunch of us together. We were all her kids. All of us were people with hearing disabilities. And then she invited us to brunch, and then we reconnected. And then you live right across the street from me, which is awesome. So we have Manny over here. We have Katarina over here. I love this little community of creating here. So Manny, thank you so much for that incredible piece of art. Is there anything that you want to share as a closing point?
Just, make good choices, peace, love, and happiness. Make sure you always follow your path. Don't let anything that may seem like a limiter or your inhibitions get in the way of you achieving your own greatness. Just strive, just keep doing it. That's all.
I love that. Simple, artistic, powerful. Love it. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today, Manny. So thank you. So our next speaker is going to be Brittany. Brittany, are you here?
I am. Can everybody see me though?
Yes, we can see you in the fabulous South. So Brittany, you are going to be speaking about minorities in film as read up on your career. You have a fuego headshot that you share with me. I was like, I need to know this ghost photographer. But anyway, the floor is yours. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Thank you, Mary and Manny. Oh my God, bow down to you. Okay, I'm live from New York right now, live from Brooklyn. And like Mariella said, the noise, I live across from a bar. So if you hear laughter and sirens, again, consider that the soundscape of us sitting right now. But yes, I would like to talk about minorities in film, or my film in short. As Mariella mentioned before, I have a cochlear implant and I also have a hearing aid, and I was diagnosed with hearing loss when I was 13, 14. And at the time, I was studying vocal at LaGuardia Performing Arts High School. So of course, during that time, I had to come up with new ways to socialize. And much like what Manny said, a lot of that meant isolation. And I carried that throughout my adulthood, but I could not run away from my art. And I thought, how can I get people to work with me to see how I create my art, instead of them having this implicit bias when I'm coming to them wanting to pitch a story or wanting to pitch my script, and them wondering, but how will she communicate? How can she talk to us in this fast-paced environment of film? And my answer always is, the solution is like, just work with me, just work with us, just work with people with disabilities. And sometimes all those questions in your head that you have can be answered. So that's why I started the My Film Collective with a bunch of filmmakers, graduates from New York City. And we started to do the collective to create work so that in the gap periods, we would have something to add to our reel. But what it became was actually a collaborative effort of people with disabilities and people without disabilities working together on their short films. And we wanted to tackle some of the biggest problems. You guys already know that in film, there's a lack of diversity, right? You hear that all the time. There's the inclusion initiative. You see data. Right now, you're seeing a lot of production companies signing pledges, right? There's like, we pledge to increase 15%. And like Mariella said earlier, not all allies actually are taking the steps necessary to provide solutions. So what we wanted to do as filmmakers was to help those allies provide solutions. And for us, our allies are production companies, organizations, professionals in film that have gotten to the point of $1 million contracts and up. And those are our key points. So we said, how can we give equity opportunities to create and tell our own stories? How can we commonly get rid of these stereotypes in the roles that we as people with disabilities and minorities play or are shown and depicted in film and TV? And how can we kind of diversify the decision-making with roles and crews on set to create opportunities for minorities? And we came up with a few things, right? So one of the things that we came up by working together is, one, we just first foster diversity and inclusion through our art, right? And that's what the workshops are. We made the workshops open to the public. Instead of film school students, we just went into our little Facebook groups that everybody's a part of, right? We said, hey, anybody want to work with us on Saturday? We're filming a short film. You only need to be available for 5 hours. We're feeding you. We're giving you food. You'll be fine. We're giving you equipment. Who wants to have the opportunity to work with us? And you'll be surprised. I had 200 comments on that Facebook one status message. And we couldn't accommodate everybody, but it wound up being 15 or 17 people for that first workshop. And that was 2 years ago. And it was such an amazing opportunity. So we decided through those workshops, we'll kind of narrow in to give these filmmakers challenges. And one of the challenges is that we want to get them away from stigmatizing people with disabilities in stories. So every script will be giving a person with a disability or a minority a superpower, so to speak. Because I feel like my hearing loss has become a superpower. That's how I identify now. So we believe that just because a person has disability A doesn't mean they have to be bad at thing B. And that's something that is a stigma in a lot of film and TV. So we get rid of that, right? We say, just because person has disability A, why can't they be an expert at something else? It's an optimization. So we want to focus on that. We did that. We said, okay, and it makes us come up with some of the most innovative ideas. I cannot tell you how traveling, right, for a person who uses a wheelchair can be so supernatural when you ask them, what do you think should be the superpower of this character? And that's what inclusion really looks like. And I think people don't really understand that. So we're trying to show them this is what it actually looks like. In the workshop, we're also able to eradicate the homogenous nature of sets. So if some of you are creators, you will notice if you go on a production workshop, you'll see a lot of people that are don't have disabilities, or if they do, they wouldn't actively ask for accommodations because they don't want to have this like, oh, you're slowing down this process. So they kind of go through navigating high functioning with their aids that they have, but they don't want to make a big deal out of it. And we thought that's a problem. You shouldn't have to hide your disability. You should be able to advocate for yourself and not fear being blackballed, because that's a huge thing that happens in Hollywood. So we saw that and we said, nope, that's not gonna happen. We decided to come together and brainstorm ways that we can create a new process of filmmaking that starts with communication, and it's free, right? When you send out your casting calls, we're now saying, is there any particular accommodations you may need? And that question is right under, are there any dietary restrictions you have? So simple. And you'd be surprised how many people on set actually need accommodations. And by making that form on Google Docs, we were able to kind of hit everybody's needs and make the set experience so much more powerful. So we decided to add that to our little toolkit of production. The other thing we were able to do with the production workshops with diversity, and I talk about this a lot, I have a cochlear implant, and this was so amazing when I discovered that my reusable batteries, my disposable batteries, Power One for my cochlear implant that I had sitting in my cabinet for like a year, actually fit our film camera. So film is like a huge hobby, and we love doing photo walks, and we love filming on analog. I love the process. And with everything being shut down, COVID, our lab was closed. The Brooklyn Film Lab was closed. So I was like, oh my God, we can't do this. We can't talk about this. And then when I found out that I have this to charge our film cameras, my friends were like, okay, so I can buy your hearing aid batteries from you since everything is shut down. So I become a resource now. And we saw that a lot in the production workshops, that the people with disabilities become the resource. And that's just a wealth of experience that we're noticing just by really, truly being inclusive. And that's one of the things. So the production workshops, check, we were able to work together to add a toolkit that we can have, right? The other thing we did was, okay, since we have all of these tools and these first-person experiences, what we want to do now to scale and maximize our impact in this sector is to reach out to organizations and to reach out to production companies and to reach out to community leaders, because they're the ones that are, signing the pledges. And so we wanted to educate and provide a career or an education to career pipeline, because a lot of with the workshops that you have going on right now, a lot of filmmakers are just learning, but it really doesn't get them into a mentee position or a paid job position. And like some of you might have seen, Ryan Reynolds recently came out with his own twist of incorporating the inclusion rider, which is he'll take proceeds out of his own contract, his own pay, to allocate that for 10 to 15 mentees on set. And they will be paid they will be housed and they will be transported from where they are to Los Angeles for that one production. And that really is how to utilize the inclusion rider to its best asset. And so a lot of people think, I'm going to use this inclusion rider to hire a department head or to hire another executive. You don't have to do that. What we want, what we would like is education, the opportunity. And now that celebrities and organizations are seeing there's a new way to do it, they're so much more eager to work with an organization or group of collective really to allow them that part to educate themselves. So we've been talking to some amazing organizations and foundations here who allow us to scale the workshops from now until next year. And that means we can bring in as many minorities, as many marginalized groups as possible to benefit from that education to career pipeline that models my example with Ryan Reynolds that I just told you guys. And I think with partnerships, it demystifies a lot of the information that we consider elitist in entertainment. It is really who you know. You can have the best resume, and if no one knows you or if no one has worked with you, you're less likely to be hired for that job. So we wanted to do that to be able to say, hey, I know this person, they're doing great, and you can offer referrals. And with our education, we always teach filmmakers the art of business. And business in film is a thing. And a lot of people don't know that the entertainment professionals across all platforms right now are working to become more aware of inclusive, of minorities. So this is our opportunity to ensure inclusion and equality for everyone, not just for certain groups, but really for everyone. And people with disabilities are America's largest minority. You've probably heard that a lot, and you already know that 1 in 5 Americans have disabilities. So why not tap into that market? That's a $1 trillion market. So I just wanted all of our filmmakers to know the business aspect of it so that they can capitalize on their specialty, on their uniqueness. But if you guys want any more information on that, feel free to follow me on Instagram. My personal Instagram is by Britt Franklin. That's BYBRITT FRANKLIN. I'm going to type it somewhere here for you guys to see, by Britt Franklin. And you can follow us at Minorities in Film on Instagram. And if you need to email me, that's minoritiesinfilm@gmail.com. Let me see if I can share this so you guys can just get this screen really quickly. But if not, that's okay. But I just want you guys to be able to see the contact information so that you can share. But I'll type it in the chat anyway. So thank you guys for listening. If you have any Q&A questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all of that information with all of us, Brittany. It was, when I first met you, just the work that you're doing is so important to be able to increase representation. So thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. I love it. So we are going to put your information, actually, Seth already put it in the chat. Anything you want to say before you close out?
No, just thank you, everybody, and feel free to reach out to me if you need any support in your art, or if you just need a community of people that can probably understand where you're coming from. I'm so excited to hear about you guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brittany. So
Bye.
that's Brittany, and that was powerful. For me, I am constantly thinking about this stuff. Our next speaker is going to be, so Brittany, yes. So our next speaker is going to be Carissa. Carissa, are you ready to go? So Carissa, Blob Mom.
Hi.
Of being a parent with a cochlear implant. Are you ready, lady?
I am ready.
yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for including me on this. It's been a great week, and I just love your commitment and how you're always advocating for this community. So thank you for that. Before I begin about talking about the mom world, I just want to let everyone know that I am not an expert on being a mom. You know, this is my experience also in the HOH world, the hearing loss world. I'm no expert in that either. This is my journey, which is unique to me. So, because I know there's a lot of hearing loss people out there that didn't experience the same things that I did. So, but before we delve into my mom-in world, I think it's important to understand where I was when I became a mom mentally. I spent most of my hearing loss life hiding it and ashamed of it. And I was in this dark bubble that I had created over the years. I was focusing on all of my shortcomings. I had a very warped view of myself. I took on all of those stigmas and I was harboring them. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't worth getting to know. I had huge self-doubts. I wasn't capable. I was embarrassed each and every time my hearing loss made life difficult, and that was difficult in social settings, academically, and in my career. All those situations added up to be this huge monster inside of me by the time I became a mom, and I was not a healthy person at that point mentally. And then I isolated huge. I began saying no to going out. Being home is so much more comfortable when you're in this mindset, when you're afraid, when you don't know how to advocate for yourself. So I became I isolated big time. So that was most of my life until I decided to get a cochlear implant, and that was last year. I have 2 boys, one's 5 and one's 2. So last year I decided, you know what, I'm struggling. My boys are getting the butt end of all of my negativity that I'm carrying around, all this baggage, and it wasn't fair to them. So I decided it was time to start to make healthier decisions in my life and try to become this healthy mom for them. So I decided to get that cochlear implant. Once I decided that, this floodgates opened for me. Like I started sharing with people. I started telling people how much I was struggling in life. They had no idea where I was at because I had kept it so close to me, didn't let anyone know about it. And then I decided to start seeing a counselor that specialized in hearing loss, and wow, like that, I should have done that years ago. My first session with her, I just couldn't believe how she had helped me so much. I was learning that I was actually harboring all those stigmas. I was perceiving the world with this negative lens. It was so eye-opening for me. And my life this was last year, my life just kind of changed. I became more confident, and she taught me how to become an advocate. And this is where becoming a better mom comes in, because first I had the healing, then I had to learn how to advocate in my kids' life. So I would advocate at school, I would advocate in the doctor's office, and I would advocate in their speech therapy sessions. At school, it looked like asking the teacher to write everything down. If you said something to me when I went to pick up, please email me it. Even if I shook my head, just let me know what you said so we can clarify. I asked one situation, my first advocating that I did for myself was my son always has plays and stuff at school, and I would sit through them watching the other parents smile and laugh and stuff, and I couldn't really follow, so it was kind of heartbreaking, but I would sit through them like desperately wanting to be where those hearing moms were. And my counselor suggested, hey, ask for them to write it out for you. Whatever they're going to be saying during that play, have them write it out for you. So I was hesitant because I never asked that before. I don't want to put people out, but I emailed the principal, and he right away was like, of course, we'll do it for you. And he did it for me, and I got to sit through Henry's play, and it was awesome. And that kind of helped me gain my confidence at becoming an advocate. And through that, I started volunteering at his school, and I started serving at my church and volunteering at other organizations. And even though I didn't want to do that stuff, I knew it was important because it helped break the isolation that I was living in. And the isolation is huge when it comes to your kids. This is where I was really struggling because I want my kids to be social. I want them to hang out with other kids. I want them to have the opportunity to play. And I was saying no to all these mom dates or mom gatherings. And that was just heartbreaking to me. So I really had to work hard on that. And I still work hard on it. Hearing loss creates this barrier when you're with somebody you're not comfortable with, or you're just meeting for the first time. You can't communicate the way that they can communicate with you. You're missing the conversation. You're slow to it. You can't ask the questions about what they just told you about. So you can't delve deeper into a relationship with that mom. And that makes me so fearful. It's really a struggle. So I had to go to these mom dates and advocate for myself. Hey, talk to me this way. I have a difficult time doing A, B, and C. Let's see if we can make this work. And, I have to remind a lot of moms about it because they just see me. They don't think that I'm struggling because I can read the lips. I can laugh along, I can fake it. I'm good at faking it. So to go past faking and really try to communicate with that person, I have to gain a lot of confidence there. And that's what I've been working on. And that is something I don't want my kids to have to suffer because I'm afraid of that part of my life. So that has been something that I've been working on as a mom. Another thing is, a couple years ago when Henry started noticing mommy can't hear me, we had to have that conversation a lot. He would get so frustrated with me if I couldn't hear him calling me from another room, or if I asked him to repeat himself a lot. His frustration was getting really just mounting and mounting. So we had to talk about, mommy's special ears. You have to, if you want to talk to mommy, you got to come in this room, you got to tap me on the shoulder, or you got to let me see your face. And we worked through that. And after I got my cochlear implant, he was so involved. He wanted to see my scar. He took care of me in my bed, this 5-year-old. He showed this love for me that was just so sweet. Now both of my boys, if I'm in bed and they come in the morning, they'll feel my ear. And if I don't have it on, they'll go get it for me and hook it up. And then they like putting the magnet on. So it's just something that we do every day. It's incorporated every day into our lives. And it's just, I'm hoping that they can always advocate for themselves and see other people out there and know that you don't know what's going on beyond what you see. And now Henry has been advocating for me, which has been a really great experience. He will, if I'm at the lake on the beach with other families, if somebody's talking to me and I don't hear it, he'll tell me, mommy, that person's talking to you. Or if we're in a store and somebody sees me, mommy, that person's talking to you. He'll even translate for me if I'm having a hard time. So, and he does not, he went from getting annoyed with me to finding sympathy and love and praying for my ears at night. So it's still a work in progress. Just, we haven't started school with the masks yet. And I know that's going to be difficult, and I'm going to have to break out some new techniques to be able to communicate with these teachers, but it's a work in progress. This has only been a year of me coming out of my dark bubble of hearing loss that I was suffocating in, but I hope that I'm doing a good job as their mom, showing them what can be done if you have a disability. And I think that's it. How was that? Any questions?
Oh, you are so good. So when I was talking to you and you told me that this was your first time speaking, I was like, she's still gonna do great. Because you blew me out of the water. It was you even had time left over, But I think it was so powerful to just really hear you talk about your experience. It was authentic, it was raw. We actually, a question from an anonymous attendee. The question says, Which was more important for you? Moving from hearing aid to cochlear implant, or developing coping and advocacy skills that allowed you to deal more positively with your hearing loss? You have about 3 minutes left, so go
Okay.
ahead.
That's a great question. So when people ask me how I like my cochlear implant, I say, you know, it's giving me hearing. I love it, but I love more that I got to break through of all that stigma and that negativity. And I became an advocate for myself. And I mean, that's just been such a blessing. So, I mean, even if back in hearing aid, Carissa rolled, if I was this person, I would have been just as happy, just as happy.
I love it. I mean, just seeing your Instagram, I think you made a story the other day about going to the lake, being able to, you know, hear in the water. I use another brand. They still don't have like the silicone mold case like you do. But just really like reading your story on Instagram, I was like, oh, so this is what it's like being a mom. I am like taking notes from everything that you like talked about. So thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. So it doesn't seem like we have any other question. Oh, actually we do have one more question, which is, can you share the name of the counselor you saw who specializes in hearing loss? You can drop her name.
What I will share it. Can I send it later? I'll find out all her information and stuff. Okay, yeah, I'll definitely share it. She was wonderful, wonderful.
You were amazing, amazing. So, all right, so we have some time left to go to our next, our last speakers of today. So Carissa, close out your video, and I'm going to need, thank you again. We're going to need Remy, Rosha, and Andy for the very last panel for today's presentation. So we have Andy here, Sarosha, and Remy. Remy, where are you at, Remy? There we go. So we have the three of you up. And I am so excited about this panel to close up this conference. So I have two questions. Well, two, not four. Two questions for each of you. So Andy is my boyfriend. I had to convince him to be a part of this panel. We have Sarosha, who is dating Manny, the first poet that we had for today's presentation. And we also have Remy down here and the interpreter. And Remy is dating Catalina Rivera, who is from Chicas Talk Disability, who I co-founded alongside her. So we have three questions for this incredible panel. And the first question is going to be, what is the greatest benefit to dating someone with a hearing disability? So who wants to go first?
I'll go first. So aside, can everyone hear me, by the way? All good? The AC isn't loud? All right. So aside from being as loud as I want when you're sleeping, because she takes her hearing off, honestly, the biggest benefit for me has just been seeing Mariella take her hearing disability and turn it into something this powerful. The fact that we're all here on a Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, talking about hearing accessibility and inclusion would not have been possible if Mariella did not have a disability. So it's like a mixed blessing. And I don't know what it's like to not have hearing because I've had it all my life. But I think it's just a fantastic thing to just see her flex that superpower of hers. So yeah.
Thank you, honey. So Sarosha and Remy, what is the greatest benefit for you dating someone with a hearing disability?
I'll go. I'm going to answer that question in two ways. I am a creature of habit, and some of my habits require me to make a little bit of noise in the morning. I start every day with a particular routine. I pick out my outfit for the day from the drawers under our bed. I say my morning affirmations in the bathroom mirror next to our bedroom. I take out the dishes from the dishwasher and I put them away in the cabinets. I do something to get my heart pumping, and lately that's been jumping jacks. And I bet I walk in and out of our bedroom 8 to 10 times every morning before Katerina wakes up. And I'm never concerned with tiptoeing, and I'm not scared that I'm gonna wake her up. And I love that. But on a more serious note, similar to Andy, I've really grown as a person by knowing Katerina. She is stellar. I didn't have many close relationships with people who had disabilities growing up, so I never really considered what life was like, or how I needed to interact any differently to accommodate them. Being her partner has taught me patience. I now fight the urge to say never mind or nothing if I've said something that she didn't hear the first time. I feel like my speech has improved. I'm more precise with my language. I'm more cognizant of both my tone and my pacing. And it's forced me to be more present. So, for instance, I'm no longer yelling something quickly from another room. I'm now coming over and I'm speaking directly to her. And I'm conscious of covering my mouth when I speak. I always consider the lighting so that Katerina can read my lips. Frankly, I took a lot for granted, and I feel like the best thing about dating her has been my personal development and growth as a person.
Yes, love it. Sarosha.
Oh man, that is, I mean, that absolutely all of the things that Remy just said. I think for me, one of the biggest benefits of dating Manny is it's really about our communication. And I don't know if it's surprising or not, but you know, having a partner who has a hearing impairment has been great for our communication in the way that I feel when we're communicating and we're talking, Manny is a bit, he's more attentive than a usual guy, I would say, and he like actually will listen and, you know, try to understand and want to respond, you know, to what I'm saying and ask questions. So that to me is really great. And I think the other part of it as well is that it kind of makes me more aware as well of the situation at hand, like making sure that it is an accessible environment and making sure that, you know, like if there's some like loud music or loud noise in the background, that I can say like, hey, can you turn that down, because, you know, like we can't all hear, or like, you know, we should, I can't hear you kind of thing, you know, just trying to make it so that I think like it's not so tough for him to understand and hear as well, you know, as everybody else can. So yeah, that's what I would say.
I love all of these answers, and I love that you all are in love with all of us respectively. So my next question is, so we talked about the benefits of dating someone with a disability. We've talked about just being able to see new creative ideas manifested, being able to walk in and out of a room 10 times and have these morning routines. We've talked about having someone that, because of their disability, maybe is a bit more attentive and more present when they're communicating. But I also know from my own relationship with Andy that there are some not so quick things about dating someone with a disability, or some challenges. So my question to the three of you is, what challenges would you say exist in your own relationship because of a disability? And Andy, I'll start with you. So go for it.
Sure. So fortunately, communicating with you is not one of them. Like, Remy and Sarocha mentioned with their relationships, that has only made me a better communicator, and likewise with you. I think for me, the bigger challenges rest in kind of like dealing with planning dates that deal directly with sound. So Mariella is one who enjoys lively, gatherings and more interesting. She's definitely not like a homebody. And hikes and dinners are great, but she also enjoys music. But it's not enough to just say, hey, we're going to like a jazz club, and then not worry about the seating. Needing to consider the acoustics of a location or the seating arrangements so that it's advantageous to Mariella to appreciate all the music that's coming her way is important. Same thing with concerts. We went to our first rock concert together in this past February, and it was a rock band I enjoy, Local H. She wasn't familiar with it, and so I had to make sure that we were at the frontmost part of the stage, and I had to keep in mind like what songs were playing so I could look up the lyrics, because the lyrics are important to her. And I say those are challenges because those are not things that are typically thought of. It's one more thing to add on to make sure that I'm not the only one that's just enjoying those experiences. Those are experiences I want to share with Mariella, and I want to make sure that she gets the most out of those as possible.
Sarocha and Remy?
I can go next. I would say similar challenges for us would be pretty much, I guess, me having to repeat myself on occasions when Manny can't hear me, or I'm in another room and I'm trying to scream something and he can't necessarily hear what I'm saying, so I would have to walk out of the room and speak to him directly. So I think that was a huge challenge for us right before the quarantine happened, because what ended up happening was that the hearing aids that Manny had for a good amount of years ended up dying on him right before we went into quarantine. So he couldn't go and get tested for new hearing aids, and so we had to spend the first, well, actually up until pretty much yesterday, without hearing aids. So we didn't have any tech support for our communication, so we had to work really hard on that piece. So I think that's a challenge a bit, but I think very much to what Remy had said, like it made me a better communicator as well, and it kind of made me more present and more mindful of what I'm saying. And if I do end up having to repeat something, like really kind of reflecting in my head, like is it worth saying? Is this something I want to communicate? And then going for it. So really giving me more confidence in what I'm in myself and what I'm speaking and saying. So yeah.
Thank you. Remy?
I have a few things. So I agree with each of what you, Andy, and Sarocha said. In my experience, communicating in noisy environments can be a bit of a challenge. So I'll sometimes have to place the order or make the reservation if we're calling a restaurant. And COVID has been particularly challenging because the face masks make it impossible to read lips. So, and it also makes it more muffled to hear the speaker. So I have stepped up a bit more in interpreting for Katerina to make sure that she knows what's going on. Also, when we go to the beach, we either have to decide, leave the hearing aids in our room, and then potentially she'll miss out on some of the things that are going on around us, or we bring them and hide them in our stuff, and she'll be anxious the whole time we're in the water. All of these are somewhat normalized now, so I don't really give them a second thought. But what's been most challenging is Katarina's inability to understand certain voices or accents. So in many instances, she won't be able to understand someone with a very thick accent or a very soft voice. My parents are both Nigerian immigrants, and Katarina and I, live in New York City. My parents live in Atlanta. And speaking with them over the phone, speaking with them in person is a challenge, even for some of my friends who don't have a hearing disability. So for Katarina to understand them over the phone is almost not possible. And we try FaceTime sometimes, but there'll be a lag or the lighting won't be perfect and she won't be able to understand them. So we're playing telephone even in real life. And I really want my partner and my parents to have a good relationship because they are all very important people to me. So we're working through that as best we can, but we are looking forward to being able to travel again and be there in person so that they can get to know each other on a deeper level.
That was powerful, and thank you to each one of you for being honest and raw and vulnerable. We actually have a question from an individual, but before we do that, I want to ask, do any of you have a last minute question, a last minute comment that you want to share, or just something that you want to say to close up this panel?
I have one, and I think it's, so I think we all understand that when in a relationship, well, any relationship, you want to be as honest and forthcoming as possible. But I think it's doubly, it's more true for a relationship with someone with a hearing disability. I think it's important to recognize that there can be no space for instilling any level of doubt in one's trustworthiness, because then after that, it could, in my view, it could lead into like, oh, well, did he really say that? Is that like, it instills doubt in what you are saying. So I think more than any other relationship, there needs to be like 100% honesty in what's being said and how it's being delivered, because otherwise it becomes like you are taking advantage of that disability. So just a final comment from me. But yeah.
Narisha and Remy?
I think it's a kind of like a general comment. I mean, first of all, I think this is amazing, and we've been trying to, tune in during the whole week to really to listen in. I think something that I've observed from listening is really kind of knowing that we all kind of have this inner voice that tells us that we're not good enough, or we're not worthy, or something along that line, and understanding that that is human, and like respecting each other through that, and trying to communicate honestly throughout all of our discomfort and these inner voices. So yeah, that's my last comment.
I love this conference. I love you folks. I am really excited that you guys invited me to join, and I don't really have anything additional to say. I mean, this is great. I love it. That's it.
Yeah. Yes. And that's basically, all right. So first of all, thank you to the three of you. I want to be strict on time since we've got a few things to go over before we close out for this conference. There's actually one question from an anonymous attendee that I want the three of you to check out. All of you know how to get on the chat, right? On the Q&A. So go ahead and feel free to respond in the chat, in the Q&A, I'm sorry, and respond. And the three of you were incredible. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to all of us about your respective experiences. So what I'm going to need you to do is close out your video, and I'm going to continue on to the conference. Thank you. All right. So next thing I am going to do is I am going to share my screen. All right. So that just happened. Oh boy, oh boy. We just had our last panel for this conference. We did that. We did that. Yes, we did that. Whoop, whoop, whoop. All right, so before we close out, we have to thank a few people for making today possible. We want to thank Google. So I'm going to just back up just a little bit. So this idea for this conference happened because a few months ago, I was invited to be a keynote speaker for the Global Accessibility Awareness Day. And if you've been following me on Project Hearing, you probably know the story. I was doing a presentation for Global Accessibility Awareness Day, and it totally bombed. I bombed that presentation. It was so bad. And it turns out that it was really bad because one of the tools that I was using, they were doing maintenance in the back end the day and time of my presentation. So here I was trying to show people how to create closed caption videos for Global Accessibility Awareness Day. My internet is not working. My applications are not working. I'm sweating all over my face. I'm sweating under my boobs. I was hot. It was so bad. And I totally bombed. And it was the worst presentation. I still have nightmares about that traumatic experience. And then I decided I need to fix this. People need to understand that this is not my quality work. And I have been thinking for some time, how can I redo this presentation again? And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it bigger. I'm going to do it better. And the idea for the Hearing Access Conference came up. And sometimes all you need is 20 minutes of extreme courage. Actually, not 20 minutes, 20 seconds. 20 minutes to put together a business plan, an email, and a MailChimp, but 20 seconds of courage. And I decided to go online and commit to creating a conference. I went on Eventbrite and I put an event out. And I sent out an email to all the people I knew that follow me on Project Hearing. And I said, hey, I'm interested in doing this event. Will you be interested in helping me out? And I had people who responded. I had Seth who really saw this vision that I had. And she said, I am going to help you I'm going to be a project manager for this project, and I'm going to help you get all the links you need to do. And the first time we met for our first meeting, Seth created a Trello. And in that Trello, we have to do, currently doing, done. And it was a huge list. And we've gotten through all of those items on that list. We also had Patrick who messaged me, and he said, I can help you with the tech. And we immediately started figuring out the best technology to make this event accessible. After all, how are you going to have a conference called Hearing Access and Inclusion Conference and then not make it accessible? So Patrick said, I am going to help you make your event accessible. And he has been working with the team, making sure that we have the Zoom, that people have their links, that the video is being recorded. Like really, the man is like in the matrix, making it happen. And then Natasha contacted me. And I saw just how good she was with managing the correspondence, the emails, improving and editing. And together, the four of us put this event together with literally no budget. We created all of our documents. We created all the correspondence. We reached out to our interpreters to make it happen. Like, this has been a team effort, and teamwork makes the dream work. I also want to thank people who have sponsored us at Google. So there are three very special people that I want to thank individually. The first one is a man by the name of Raymond Blum from Google. So Raymond, actually, the first time I met Raymond was an event that we had to do for work, and I was late for the event. I had requested real-time captioning for the event because I thought Google can pay for real-time captioning. Great. I got to the event, but I had made the request so last minute that Google was not able to secure captioning for the event. But anyway, I get there late for the event, and all the seats in the front had been taken. And as I'm going up, because I needed to be signed in by a Googler, I explained to Raymond that I have a hearing disability, and I asked him if there are any seats in the front so that I could have access. And Raymond says, we don't have real-time captioning, and we don't have any seats in the front, but I will figure out how to make what you need happen. So he asked someone in the front row to volunteer to give me a row, and then he said, I have something really cool to show you, but you can share it outside of this meeting. And he showed me a version of the Google Slides captioning on the version of PowerPoint for Google Slides. And this was about a week before they were going to release the Google Slides functionality to the public. I was blown away by this, blown away. There was an AI-generated captioning functionality at Google, and it changed everything for me. I emailed Raymond immediately after this event, and I said, we have to keep in touch. And we had a meeting for coffee, and I had told Raymond about this idea that I had because people kept knocking on my door because I kept ordering stuff from Amazon, and people kept knocking on my door, but I couldn't hear the door because my door was really far away from the living room. So when people knocked on the door, I couldn't hear it. And I kept missing my packages. And I was telling Raymond about this idea that I had of connecting a doorbell with virtual lights, and all the system that I would need cost about $400. And I couldn't afford it at that time. And Raymond said, you know what, I think I know someone who would be interested in this project. And he introduced me to someone by the name of VintServe. VintServe, if you don't know who VintServe is, prepare yourselves. So VintServe is the creator of the internet. And this man wanted to sponsor this idea that I had of creating this technology that you press a button and the lights blink. It's just really connecting the technology because it already exists. And I did that. And it was the first time that somebody said, I like the idea, I'll sponsor it, that's a great idea. And it changed everything for me because for the first time, I saw that I could turn things into real things. I could turn ideas into real things. I could become a solutionist to my own problem as a person with a hearing disability, and that changed everything for me. And then through VintServe, I met someone else named Sarah Bassett, who also works at Google, and she's a disability evangelist. And she's introduced me to people like Dimitri, who also works at Google and is the creator behind Google Live Transcribe, and was one of our presenters for this workshop, and introduced me, literally blew my mind about accessibility and inclusion. There are so many brilliant people and so many incredible accessibility tools that are coming out of Google, like Google Live Transcribe, Google Live Caption, Euphonia. So I want to give a huge shout out to Google for making this happen and allowing us to have a budget to be able to pay our incredible interpreters. So we have had a few interpreters throughout this entire conference. So interpreters who are using American Sign Language, and actually had someone who mentioned to me that sometimes I give them just stress because I go into New York mode and I speak so quickly. And I really appreciate the interpreters for being able to like keep up with me when I'm getting really excited and talking really fast. You guys are experts, and I'm so honored that I got to work with you. I also want to thank our captioners who are typing down everything that's being said so fast, keeping up with everything that is being said and making this event accessible. Thank you for being our ears, for being our voices, and for creating space to allow us to advocate and learn and become educated. And then finally, well, there's one more person I have to thank, but I really want to thank our speakers who have taken time over the last 7 days. I want to thank, I'm going to go one by one. I'm going to go thank Kathleen, who gave an incredible history lesson on Deaf Residents Now movement and how it really led to the ADA. Her presentation as our introductory speaker was top notch, and I've learned so much about the history. I want to thank Jennifer, who spoke on behalf of the Global Alliance of Speech-to-Text Captioning and gave me a quote that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life, which is, anything that less than the best is not acceptable. When she was talking about captioning and accessibility, especially when she spoke about how during times of emergency, it is better for you to have requested excellent service so that during times of emergencies, you are not struggling. So check out her presentation. I want to thank Andy O, who gave an incredible presentation on hearing disability and emergency preparation. I've had so many great conversations with Andy about being prepared as a person with a hearing disability. He talked about having things like a buddy system, having extra batteries, where to get access to information. I want to thank my mom who put all her fears aside to host her very first public speaking engagement on Wednesday. And she talked about some of the best practices that she's done in terms of raising a child with a hearing disability. One of the things that she's always said is that inclusion in our family is mandatory, not optional. I want to thank Marcos, who also shared with us on Wednesday for the Spanish panel an incredible tool called OVS that allows you to have closed caption calls. Who else? We have Heather and Robert, who gave a powerful presentation on the script and Kapwing, two different tools that you can use to create your closed caption videos. Catalina Rivera and Dr. Michelle, who yesterday gave presentations about self-advocacy. Catalina just spoke so powerfully. Oh my God, I keep saying powerful and incredible, but everyone is just so special, marvelous, fantastic, great. What other synonyms can I use? Impactful. So we had Katerina and Dr. Michelle, who gave wonderful presentations about the power of a positive mindset and just really creating space and access. And then today we had many just really set a standard for just raw, vulnerable, unfiltered expression through his art and his poetry. Like really just every time I've heard him speak, it's just like, yes, you captured that magical thing inside of you. I want to thank Brittany for talking with us about her film, about the work that she's doing in the space to create more access, to create more inclusion so that we can have more people like us representing us in media. I want to thank Carissa, who really is mentally preparing me for what awaits me as a mom with a hearing disability. I am so excited to be able to go through all of these experiences that you're having. And then finally, Rami, Sarosha, and Andy, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to us about what it's like being someone with a disability. And finally, I want to really give a special shout out to my good friend Andy, because over the last few months, I've been driving him crazy with this conference, just like so much drama, tears. I thank you for keeping me alive, keeping me fed, giving me water, making sure I sleep. Thank you. You are amazing. Without further ado, I am going to close out this conference and connect with us. So connect with me on Project Hearing on Facebook. Please go ahead and follow me on Instagram. Send me an email if you have liked what has happened. If you have learned new things, and to officially close out, we encourage all of you to make a donation if you have not already on the Eventbrite page. It is the same page that you use to register. So tomorrow we are done at the 7-day conference. We encourage you to apply some of the things that you learned. If you are an ally, I encourage you to commit to being an ally. I encourage you to take some of the topics that we've discussed today and be an ally. If you're someone with a hearing disability, I encourage you to take some of the things that we've learned today and in the last few weeks to become a better, more empowered advocate. And to continue the conversation, go to the website at projecthearing.com, subscribe to the newsletter, and then two more things, fill out the survey. We are going to be sending out a survey and follow-up emails. Let us know what we did well, what we did not so well and could improve on. Let us know what you like, what you didn't like. We want to make this the best darn conference that you have been to all year. So let us know if this was the best darn conference that you've been to all year. And then finally, if you need to contact us, email us at hearingaic, which stands for Access Inclusion Conference, at gmail.com. And with that, I'm going to do my Jora. So we did it, yay! And we are done with the 7-day conference. Go forth and be accessible and inclusive. I will see you at the next event. Don't forget to go to projecthearing.com and sign up for the newsletter. We are going to be having so many other cool events like this in the future. So let's stay connected and we will talk soon. Thank